Welcome to Newcastle upon Tyne, better known simply as Newcastle, one of the coolest cities in England. In this video I'm going to show you the city, its best museums, some beaches and a whole lot more. Newcastle started off as a Roman settlement, but acquired its current name only in medieval times when a new castle was built to help defend the city, hence the name Newcastle. The city boomed during the Industrial Revolution, becoming an important coal port, and was also one of the biggest shipbuilding cities in the world. The city now has a population of about 300,000 people. It is considered one of the most fun cities in the world for nightlife and also has beautiful coastal areas. The city is also famous for its football club, Newcastle United. The city has an airport and main train station, making it easy to get to, and it also has a small metro system, which you will need to use to reach the coastal areas shown later in this video. You can probably see most of the city in a day, but I really recommend spending a little more time here, especially if you want to see the stunning coastal parts. Right, let's get into the top 10. First up is the famous Quayside, where you can stroll along the banks of the River Tyne and admire the many bridges crossing the river. The most famous of which is the historic Tyne Bridge, which was opened in 1928 and had at the time the largest arch of any bridge in the world. It's pretty epic, especially the way that it kind of sits over the top of some historic buildings. A more modern bridge is the Gateshead Millennium Bridge, which can rotate to allow boats to pass. It also allows easy access across the river to Gateshead. On the Gateshead side, you can visit the famous Baltic Centre for Contemporary Arts. This free attraction was opened in 2002 and is inside a former flour mill. Also on the Gateshead side is the futuristic looking Sage Gateshead, which is a music venue. It was opened in 2004 and was designed by the famous architect Sir Norman Foster. Even if you don't go to see a concert, it's worth going inside to admire the curving architecture. A short stroll up from the quayside is our next location, the castle. The current building dates from the 1170s and was built to replace an older wooden castle, which was the structure that gave the city its name. The current stone keep was built in the Romanesque style, or Norman as we call it in the UK, as you can see from its round arches. The interior is much bigger than it seems and should not be missed. Inside there is an impressive main hall as well as many passages, stairways and smaller rooms. However, the best bit is going onto the roof, where you can get some epic views of the city in all directions. Almost next to the keep is the Black Gate, which can be visited as part of the castle using the same ticket. It has a small exhibition on the top floor with many fascinating artefacts. Location number 3 is the Cathedral, which is free to enter. Built in a Gothic style in the 14th and 15th centuries, it is not especially large, having only become a cathedral in 1882. However, it is a very interesting building, its most prominent feature being the amazing crown steeple. The interior has a wonderful Gothic nave which leads to the choir with a richly decorated choir screen, and if you wander further in you can admire the many carved statues around the choir stalls as well as the ornate altar. There is also a cafe and many other notable features, so take some time to look around this fantastic building. Grainger town is the historic commercial centre of Newcastle and is a short stroll from the quayside. It is one of the most beautiful and historic city centres in England, full of grand neoclassical buildings and monuments, as well as all the shops, bars and restaurants you could ever want. The district is named after Richard Grainger, who built several neoclassical streets in the 19th century, the most prominent of which is the curving Grey Street. This is one of the most glorious streets in England. Here you'll find the historic Theatre Royal with its epic neoclassical columns, as well as many other historic buildings, all built from the same sand-coloured stone. Amazing! Also on Grey Street is the ornate central arcade, which was built in 1906, so make sure you pop in to admire its decorative interior. At the top of Grey Street is a huge 40-metre high neoclassical Grey's monument. This was built in 1838 to commemorate Charles Grey, 2nd Earl Grey, who was a famous British Prime Minister, known for supporting many notable reforms such as the abolition of slavery. It is open on certain days in the summer but gets booked up very quickly, so check before you go. If you're lucky enough to go inside and go up, you can get some breathtaking views from the top. It's well worth it. The monument gave its name to the metro station underneath, which is handy as you will need it to reach the next destination on our list. One of the reasons why I think Newcastle is one of the best cities in England is because of its stunning coastal region, the best known part of which is Tynemouth, which can be reached by riding on the metro to Tynemouth station. This is also one of the most historic parts of the city, and the first thing you'll want to do is head inside Tynemouth Priory and Castle, which is run by English Heritage and is definitely worth the small admission fee. Inside you will find the ruins of Tynemouth Priory. The beautiful Gothic remains give only a glimpse of this former monastery. Parts of the choir still stand at almost their full height, and tucked inside is the tiny Percy Chapel, so make sure you have a look. Surrounding the ruins is an extensive graveyard, which I can imagine would look very spooky at night time. The monastery was built on a defendable headland on high cliffs. If you walk around the site you will get some epic views over the river mouth, the beaches and the North Sea. It's simply incredible. And if that is not enough, there is also a coastal defence station which played an important role defending the river in World War II. You can still see the gun emplacements today, and it's even possible to go inside below the guns to see the armoury and learn about the operation of the site. Finally, before you head out, don't forget to explore the ruins of the castle that guard the site, where you can take in more fantastic views. Just below the castle and priory is one of several lovely sandy beaches. This one is called King Edward's Bay, and I was lucky enough to visit on a very hot day, but be warned, this is still the north of England and it's usually cold and windy, and the North Sea is always on the chilly side. Just to the north of Tynemouth is another spectacular beach known as Long Sands. At the far end is the splendid neo-Gothic church of St George's, Cullercoats, which you should enter if it's open as it has a fine interior. And even further north is Whitley Bay Beach, at the end of which is one of the most famous lighthouses in England called St Mary's. I didn't have time to visit on this trip to record video, so here are some photos I took on a previous visit to give you an idea of what it's like. Heading back into the city centre, the next stop is the fantastic Great North Museum, Hancock. It was established in 1884 and houses a great collection of natural history and archaeology, not to mention a really fearsome looking T-Rex skeleton. This museum is really fantastic and has so much cool stuff to look at that there is no way I can even begin to talk about it in this video. So here are some highlights to give you an idea of what to expect. Oh, and it's free to enter, so definitely don't miss it. Another awesome museum in Newcastle is the Discovery Museum, which houses an extensive collection of artefacts centred around science and technology, especially that of the Industrial Revolution connected to the city. Outside is a very dangerous Challenger tank, and I say that as I was so fascinated looking at it that I managed to trip over, injuring myself and breaking my camera lens. So don't be an idiot like me, look where you are going and don't let the tank get you. The museum is free to enter and its main attraction is the Turbinia, which was built in Newcastle in 1894 and was the first ship to be powered by a steam turbine, making it the fastest ship in the world at the time. The museum also has an extensive display of industrial machinery and engines, including this cool looking jet engine. There are also numerous highly detailed scale models of ships that were built in the local shipyards, including many warships, Being a bit of a warship nerd, I found this especially fascinating to look at. Another cool aspect of the museum is its History of Newcastle exhibition, which is a series of rooms packed full of objects and info detailing the life and times of this great city. The city also has a few other cool museums such as the Life Science Centre and the Liang Art Gallery. Location number 8 will require another trip on the metro to South Shields. Here you can find the Arbeia South Shields Roman fort, which is free to enter, mostly outdoor location, revealing the remains of an ancient Roman fort. The fort was founded in about 160 AD and was occupied until the Romans left Britain in the 5th century. The site is very large and you can see clearly the foundations of the ancient buildings. There are also several reconstructed parts which are fascinating and make this place quite unique. First, there is a reconstructed gateway which looks very cool. Even better, you can go inside to look at the interesting exhibits and info about the site, as well as getting onto the ramparts for some nice views. Also in the site are some reconstructed buildings showing how the Romans lived on the site, including some barracks and a commander's villa with decorated rooms in a courtyard. The entry building also has a small exhibition room full of fascinating Roman objects. Our next location is right by the fort and is South Shields itself, or rather the coastal areas around it. This is another stunning location which was especially great to visit on a nice sunny day, although be warned, the water was still freezing. This is the north of England after all. The main beach is Sandhaven Beach, which is a wide and wonderful stretch of sandy paradise. There's also a huge amusement park here as well. At the far end of the beach is a small rocky headland with a naval gun emplacement. This elevated ground offers some stunning views over the main beach. If you continue along the coastal paths here, you will encounter more beaches and cliffs to explore. If you have the time, it's worth hiking along the cliffs for about an hour or so to reach the Marsden Beach. This is at the foot of a cliff, and there is an amazing Marsden Grotto, which is a cafe, bar, restaurant and hotel built into the cliff with its own elevator. This place has a fantastic terrace to sit on and look at the amazing rock stacks and beautiful beach, and was a real highlight. Slightly further on is the historic Salter Lighthouse, which is run by the National Trust. I managed to arrive just after closing, so I could only look around the outside, but it's a really beautiful spot, so don't overlook it. The final location is the iconic Angel of the North. It's situated a little way out of Newcastle in Gateshead, so you'll either need to drive or get the number 21 bus from Newcastle city centre. The Angel of the North is a large steel sculpture of an angel with massively exaggerated wings. It was created by Sir Anthony Gormley and completed in 1998. And that's it for my top 10. Well, what are you waiting for? Go book your tickets to Newcastle, you won't regret it. Thanks for watching and cheerio!